Good evening and thank you for joining us. With a surge in traffic-related death tolls, police launched a week-long enforcement campaign today to combat jaywalking and illegal driving behaviors. Take a look. Among the districts where police undertook the week-long enforcement campaign was Whampoa. Cameras set up to record any violations of traffic regulations. Pedestrians have to watch before crossing. Drivers, too, have to let pedestrians pass first at the zebra crossing. Those who did not do so were stopped by police officers. Over in Prince Edward Road West, a crackdown on drivers' attempts to jump the red light. Some taxi drivers barely braked in time. And alleged use of handheld mobile devices while driving. Spotting that, an officer riding a motorbike immediately went after the driver.
It has to come with some punishments, but never overdo it. But I think education is always good and reminders always helpful.
I think it's good because it's more safety and less more accident.
According to police figures, 2023 recorded a total of 98 traffic fatalities. That's 10% higher than the year before. More than 60% of the deaths were pedestrians. Police said apart from motorists' disregard of road safety, jaywalking was another main cause of serious or fatal accidents. In the week-long large-scale enforcement campaign, police will crack down on bad driving behaviors such as speeding and drink driving. The campaign will continue until next Tuesday. Apart from motorists, pedestrians who have violated traffic regulations will be issued fixed penalty tickets with a fine of $2,000. In Hong Kong, jaywalkers spotted too, even amid police presence. Another pedestrian caught crossing on a red light. In this traffic black spot in Kwun Tong, both drivers and pedestrians took extra care and had no tickets issued today. The Mandatory Provident Fund Schemes Authority says its eMPF platform is ready to be released. Trustees can transfer their accounts to the new digital platform in June at the earliest. A complete adoption of the eMPF system is predicted to be complete by the end of next year. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Another step towards the city's digitization process, this time involving Hong Kong's employees. Users of the new eMPF platform will be able to access a one-stop service providing account and fund transferal information in real time. The platform is set to provide a more encompassing experience for around 4.7 million Hong Kong residents and 360,000 employers, and will involve close to 11 million MPF accounts. The digital measure is expected to lower administrative costs by 40 to 50%, or around $30 to $40 billion after being in operation for 10 years. MPFA Chairman Aisha McPherson Lau noted at today's Legislative Council meeting that the system is ready to be rolled out. Some lawmakers raised concerns over the safety of information being transferred to the digital platform.
Now, there is a common perception that whenever a new system is launched, there would be a lot of hiccups. So I think we need a multi-tiered security system. So for the eMPF system, besides the recommendations made by the OGCIO, are there additional safeguards to ensure that nothing will go wrong? Concerning our parameters and also the standard of our system, we have made reference to the relevant system in the world. Upon the launch of the system, we will implement around-the-clock security monitoring to prevent hacking. When there is a system failure, we will be able to switch to a backup.
Starting in 2012, the employee choice arrangement was implemented in Hong Kong, allowing employees to transfer the MPF derived from the employee's mandatory contributions once a year. The MPFA chairman stressed considerations are being made to further expand the measure in a bid to grant employees more autonomy. She added the progress of the eMPF platform will not affect the abolition of the MPF offsetting arrangement in May next year. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The Legislative Council will hold a full meeting tomorrow to resume the second reading of the Safeguarding National Security Bill. Some lawmakers said they are prepared to hold an overnight meeting and hope that the legislation will be completed soon. Timothy Lee reports.
The LegCo meeting on the city's national security law was originally intended to be held on Wednesday. This as LegCo President Andrew Leung called the Secretary for Security Chris Tang to notify him of the meeting being brought forward. Leung also agreed to Tang's request to resume the second reading of the National Security Bill in accordance with the lawmaking body's rules of procedure. Leung stressed the decision was made out of urgency. He said the meeting is available for public view and that there is a consensus among members of the public to speed up the legislation work. According to the procedure, the relevant bills committee chairman will offer the suggestions of committee members after the second reading. Each lawmaker is given one chance to make a statement limited to 10 minutes before casting their votes. Once passed, the bill will be considered by the Committee of the Whole Council, which will scrutinize the 91 amendments suggested by the government. Each lawmaker will have the chance to make several statements, each limited to 5 minutes. The bill will then enter into its third reading when lawmakers can make one statement each, limited to 3 minutes. If the motion is passed, the bill completes its passage into the Legislative Council. It will then go to the Chief Executive for his signature and will be gazetted. Today's meeting began at 9 a.m. and could last up to 26 hours if all lawmakers make a statement. Some lawmakers shared their views on the long session. Lawmaker Regina Ip emphasized she is mentally prepared to hold an overnight meeting. She stressed the legislative work is a historic task. While lawmaker Ng Chao Pei echoed the sentiment, saying that he feels touched to help complete the national security legislation. Some lawmakers said they hope the government will provide more education to the public once the law is passed. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin basked in a victory early Monday as results showed him easily securing a fifth term in office after facing only token challenges and suppressing the opposition. He said his victory shows Moscow was right to stand up to the West in sending troops into Ukraine. Meanwhile, the United States, Britain, and other nations said the vote was neither free nor fair. Tracy Furness has more.
As the polls in Russia closed Sunday after 3 days of voting, it was clear that President Vladimir Putin was set for another 6-year term, overtaking Joseph Stalin to become the country's longest-serving leader in more than 200 years if he completes his term. 71-year-old Putin swept the polls with 87.8% of the vote, the highest result in Russia's post-Soviet history. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky dismissed the current Russian presidential election as an imitation of elections. The Russian dictator is simulating another election. Everyone in the world understands that this figure, as has often happened in history, has simply become addicted to power and is doing everything he can to rule forever, said Zelensky. The United States, Britain, Germany and other nations have said the vote was neither free nor fair due to the imprisonment of political opponents and censorship, while North Korean President Kim Jong-un congratulated Putin. Opposition figures, including Alexei Navalny, had asked Russians to turn out Sunday midday as a sign of protest. Before his death, Navalny asked Russians to spoil their ballot or vote for any candidate apart from Putin. But the plan did not succeed. Communist candidate Nikolai Kharitonov finished second with just under 4% of the vote. Newcomer Vladislav Danankov was third and ultra-nationalist Leonid Slutsky fourth. Meanwhile, the election took place amid attacks within Russia by Ukraine missiles and drones, which killed several people. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The president of South Korea underscored the critical role of technology in shaping democracy during the opening session of the Third Summit for Democracy in Seoul. South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke about the threats of fake news and false information spreading through artificial intelligence and digital technology. Yoon said he was concerned about the widening technological gap between nations, which can aggravate economic and democratic disparities. Blinken said governments must make sure the future of technology is inclusive. He warned of authoritarian regimes exploiting technology to undermine democracy and human rights, and said technology must uphold democratic values and norms.
As authoritarian and repressive regimes deploy technologies to undermine democracy and human rights, we need to ensure that technology sustains and supports democratic values and norms.
Foreign Minister Wang Yi today met with New Zealand's president and foreign minister during his official visit to Wellington. He said he hopes the visit will strengthen cooperation between the two countries in all areas. Sakurib reports from New Zealand.
Good to see you. Are you well?
New Zealand's Prime Minister Christopher Luxon met Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi at the Parliament building in Wellington.
Foreign Minister, can I just say ni hao and welcome back to New Zealand again. It is good to have you here. I think this is your third visit to New Zealand as Foreign Minister.
Wang Yi said China will continue to support the comprehensive strategic partnership between China and New Zealand, which is marking its 10th anniversary this year. Earlier, Wang Yi also met his New Zealand counterpart Winston Peters for bilateral talks. Wang said despite changes in international and regional situations, the momentum for the healthy development of China-New Zealand relations continues, and this has become a stabilizing factor of the world. He also mentioned that mutual respect and support are key in bilateral ties that benefit the people. After his stay in New Zealand, Foreign Minister Wang Yi will head to Australia for the next stop of his trip. He last visited these two countries 7 years ago. According to China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, his current trip will lay the groundwork for top-levels visit later this year. Sakari IPTV News, Wellington.
More news after the commercial break. Back locally, more than 200 luminous eggs will be installed in the central harbourfront starting next Monday. Starting today, members of the public can make reservations for a visit on this designated booking platform. So far, reservation slots are already full for the first 7 days of the exhibition. The luminous eggs are part of the large-scale outdoor arts event Team Lab Continuous at Tamer Park and the Central and Western District Promenade Central section. It will be open between 6 p.m. and 11 p.m. until June the 2nd. The police noted an upward trend of children being involved in sexual abuse cases related to internet usage. Authorities stress many youngsters are unaware of the risks of sending nude photos of themselves online. Police said among cases involving children using the internet last year, 44 of them consisted of child pornography. Cases involving sexual assault of minors, meanwhile, increased by 15% year-on-year. Close to 90% of victims are aged between 12 and 16. The youngest victim was only 9 years old. The police said some social media platforms offer instant photo deleting functions after the pictures are viewed, leading to some youngsters believing that any indecent photos that were sent out would not leave behind a digital record. Authorities urge caution that some could take screenshots of such photos before they are deleted, and noted a relevant police website is available offering crime prevention information. Tatler Hong Kong announced further details of ticket refunds for Inter Miami's match in the city in February. Those who purchase the game's tickets through Klook can get a 50% refund and must respond to the organizer's email on or before the 12th of April. Those eligible will receive Tatler's email today. The organizer said the refund will be handled within 30 days after the 12th of April. Those who bought the tickets directly from Tatler Asia Limited, including tickets from event sponsors and partners, will be contacted by their respective account managers and given more information. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.